Hello and welcome back to the Dragon course. This is the sort of a bonus chapter, an extra little bit I decided to add in the end, where I mention, I wouldn't even say offer or propose, I mention an alternative against the very main and the most principled Yugoslav attack, the so-called Dragodorf. Also, I already done a Nidorf course. Now I did the Dragon course. Here we have the Dragodorf. And that is the opening after e4 c5, knight f3 d6, d4 c9 d4, knight f6, knight c3 g6. Since there's a combination of Dragon and Nidorf, you can start sometimes with the Nidorf with a6, bishop e3, and now go g6. But let's start with g6, bishop e3, bishop g7, f3, and now a6. And, well, first of all, this system is mostly relevant against the Yugoslav attack, but Yugoslav attack is also the system I expect you to face in most of your games, regardless of your level, so it's a very relevant thing. Now the Dragodorf, the point is very clever, very interesting. Black wants to maintain a lot of flexibility, and he wants to combine the Nidorf and the Dragon. Not exactly the Nidorf, because the Nidorf has different points. There is a whole course about it. But the point of a6 here is to start play with b5. But more importantly than that, perhaps, is to keep the king uncastled, and after queen d2, black has this move h5, which is very clever. It stops bishop h6, because the king hasn't castled yet. The rook is still there to guard the square. And also it stops g4. That is also why there is that system with knight c6, queen d2 and h5. That is also there, something to explore. But just like the Dragodorf, it's highly risky and dubious. But that said, it's been twice played by Magnus Carlsen. Also, I remember I lost against it once already as a decent player. Played at a rapid tournament in Holland, one of my first ones. And I played a young guy. He played this Dragodorf. It was a very sharp game, and he managed to beat me. It was very unpleasant afterwards. He was like, "Hey, you don't know Dragodorf? It's so cool." And yeah, I was just not happy there. But so Dragodorf definitely out there. Magnus Carlsen played it twice in rapid. The engines don't hate it that much, and above all, it's just really hard with white to meet it if you don't know how. And I can understand why. You cannot play bishop h6, you cannot play g4. What do you play? Now, first of all, instead of queen d2, you can play g4 first. Here we go, b5, queen d2, bishop b7. It's nice to keep the d7 square available for the knight here, because after long castle we go h5, force g5, and now go knight fd7. We kept the square for the knight. Knight nicely tucked in. The other knight comes out to c6, and we've closed the king side and we'll castle short. So a reasonable position from practical standpoint. Instead of g4, queen d2 is the main move. Now this move h5. I should mention, if knight b7, we've got a problem with g4, because after g4, b5, this business no longer works, because after in this kind of cases, you no longer have that h7, no longer have that d7 square for the knight compared to this early g4. So knight b7 not ideal as well. But h5 is the way to go, and here we have white has a few options. So one critical option is to simply forget plans with long castle, say that, okay, I don't have the attack, but you weakened yourself, you wasted some time, I'm gonna go bishop e2 and just short castle. And here we go knight b7 first, castle, white can play e4. Now we have to develop our pieces somehow, so b6 comes to mind, but then knight c6, queen e8, knight d5. This is trouble. So we play rook e8, and the idea is to next play b6, and knight c6 is met by queen c7. The e7 pawn is protected. If white plays a5, we play queen c7. Now after knight d5, the rook is also very useful. We take, knight f6, c4, and we release the tension here. Not release, we create the tension in the center, the opposite. Solve the issue of the backward pawn, go e6, d bishop e6. Good chances here to solve the opening problems. Now after queen c7, computer recommends the slow waiting move h3. And after b5, a b knight b6, we have a playable position. White keeps some pressure according to the engine after knight a4 because of the weak a6 pawn, but not a big deal basically. Sometimes you can even sacrifice it and then play in the center with d5. So bishop e2 not going to be the refutation, but certainly testing. Long castle is the move Black is hoping for, the most logical move, also the move you're likely to face. We play now b5. As soon as the a4 option is gone, so as soon as white castled, we go b5. If white goes bishop e2, here b5 is premature because of a4. Of course, takes with the rook. Takes with the rook. Forgets long castle, goes short castle. We just created a weakness. So we wait for long castle, and now if long castle, we go b5. So no issue. a4 is suicidal. Simply, you don't even want to take because then you open the a file for your own checkmate. So here white goes king b1. Then we play knight b7, bishop d3. Let's say develop bishop to b7, and now it's just a very easy position to play. White still doesn't have a clear path forward, not at least not in human terms. And black does the Sicilian business. You want rook on c8 or b8, queen on c7, and you want rook on b8 after white plays a3. Let's say if white plays a3, you want a rook on b8 and then bishop a8 b4. Otherwise, you want rook on c8 usually. Knight sent towards c4 via b6 or e5. Queen can come to c7. Just this typical Sicilian play. Very nice, practically speaking. I think you'll have great results here in Blitz. At least great results out of the opening. The rest is your own skill. But the move 9 bishop c4 is very critical. That's what Grishuk and Dominguez played. These are well-prepared players. If black starts with b5, then bishop d5 has to be taken into consideration. After knight d7, long castle b5, also bishop d5 is a thing, and bishop b3 is possible. After bishop d5, black takes, knight takes. Black has to deal with this threat, so he has to choose either bishop b7 or knight e5, with a rather dubious position, but something you can investigate and play. And there's 11 bishop b3. And now after knight c5, knight is hitting the bishop, king b1. Quite interestingly, Magnus, he probably hasn't delved into the depth of the Dragodorf much because it's a rather dubious opening. So he probably used it as a bluff, and that explains why he wasn't too well prepared here. He was probably playing it just without concrete knowledge, because twice he fell for the same trap that neither Dominguez nor Grishuk knew. After bishop b7, he allowed move knight f5, which is a strong issue, and something that, of course, doesn't come to mind naturally, and both players didn't know. In fact, the second guy, Dominguez, he also didn't know it, and that's because the game was played in the Rapid tournament, and Magnus plays 20 different openings, and of course, before a game with Magnus, you've got 15 minutes as Linear Dominguez. You cannot prepare against Dragodorf, so he couldn't have looked at this. But the point is, after gf, bishop c5, we have an issue. DC, there is a shocker, queen g5. That's why white has opened this g file, and now the queen hangs and the bishop hangs. White's winning, so knight f5 is trouble. But there is an improvement. We play bishop d7, close the d file, and we're still in the game. One option I should also mention after knight d7 is bishop g5. Now b5, bishop d5 is definitely trouble. Instead, black should start with knight c5, long castle, and then bishop d7, and things are playable. So I think the Dragodorf definitely a practical weapon, unless you play at the very highest level and you play a very well prepared opponent who has spent a lot of time here with the chess engines and figured it all out, then it's quite dubious. But if you play pretty much at any level below the very top, especially with the quicker time control, I simply think it's a very practical weapon. After queen d2, h5, most likely you'll face long castle. Then after b5, white will simply struggle with moves, and he will not know how to develop his play. So I didn't want to make a whole course based on this, because once I go deep enough in certain places, I will have to discover trouble. But certainly a nice little side gig there for you guys. I hope it will be appreciated. I hope you will enjoy using it as well. But if you want a reliable repertoire, then we've got our main line with castle, knight c6, and tons of theory there, all in the designated chapters. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.